All right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're exploring indirect suggestion, and we've got a lecture by hypnotherapist Stephen Brooks to guide us.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one.
It looks really fascinating. So, maybe a little bit about this already, right?
Yeah.
Influencing behavior without giving blatant commands.
Right.
But Brooks really digs deep into this. And, he talks about how we encounter these things every day and we don't even realize it.
It's amazing when you think about it because what indirect suggestion really shows us is how much of our communication is happening on a level below our awareness.
Right.
Your conscious minds might be focused on what's being said, but your unconscious is picking up all these subtle cues and reacting to them. Yeah, it's like that analogy of the iceberg, you only see the tip.
Right, exactly. So let's jump right in with something Brooks calls binds.
What?
Have you ever felt stuck between a rock and a hard place? Where no matter what you choose, you're kind of playing into someone else's hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Brooks gives this great example. He says, is it easier to listen to me when I talk slowly or at my normal speed?
You're stuck either way.
Right. I have to choose one or the other, but no matter what I choose...
You're paying attention.
Right, playing into his hand.
Exactly. And that's often the goal to get you to pay attention. They've already won.
That's so sneaky.
Yeah.
It's but is that ethical?
Okay.
It feels manipulative.
It's a really important question, and that's something we should keep in mind, as we explore these techniques, because the intention behind the communication is really important.
Right.
A bind could be used to gently guide someone towards a positive outcome, but it can also be used for, less than noble purposes.
Right.
So, yeah, I think awareness is key.
Yeah. The more we understand these techniques,
Yeah.
the better we are to use them responsibly and then also spot them when they're being used on us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got binds, but then Brooks takes it a step further.
Okay.
He talks about these things called double binds. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Now, with a double bind, we're operating on a whole other level.
Yeah.
We're bypassing conscious awareness altogether.
Whoa.
So instead of asking about the speed of their voice,
Okay.
they might say, do you think it will be the sound of my voice or the things I'm saying that will be the most absorbing?
Oh.
And now you're left hanging, waiting for the answer to unfold.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's your brain is already primed
Right.
before you've even heard the information.
Exactly. And because it bypasses your conscious analysis,
Right.
you're more likely to just accept the suggestion without resistance.
So it's super powerful.
It is a powerful tool. And as Brooks points out, it's surprisingly common.
Give me some examples. Where do we see these double binds?
Oh, they're everywhere. Think about a therapist who asks, will your right hand relax first or will it be your left? Or a salesperson who says, let me know which picture comes first.
Wow, yeah.
These seemingly innocent questions are actually setting you up to experience the suggested outcome.
Okay, so they're everywhere. I'm starting to see them everywhere now.
Yeah.
But why are they so effective? What is it about our minds that makes us so susceptible to these double binds?
Well, I think it's because double binds tap into our unconscious desire for resolution.
Okay.
So when presented with two options, our minds just instinctively seek a conclusion.
Okay.
And that kind of bypasses our critical thinking and makes us more likely to go with the flow.
And the flow is leading us right where they want us to go.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily forcing someone to do something. It's more subtly guiding their experience.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Wow. Okay. I'm ready for more. What else has Brooks got for us?
Well, hold on tight, because we're about to enter the realm of linguistic camouflage.
Linguistic camouflage.
Brooks calls it interspersal.
Okay.
And it's essentially the art of hiding commands within seemingly normal conversation. He actually contrasts this with the stereotypical image of a hypnotist using a very direct authoritarian style. It's a world of difference.
So instead of saying you are going into a trance, what would someone say if they're using interspersal?
Well, they might weave that command into a story or a metaphor or even just a casual remark.
Okay.
Your conscious mind might just hear the overall message, but your unconscious picks up on those embedded commands.
Oh, wow.
And it leads you towards that desired response.
So is that kind of like those subliminal messages they talk about in advertising?
It's similar, but more sophisticated.
Yeah.
So Brooks gives this example of a direct command, which would be, you are going into a trance, now your eyes are closing, go under.
Yeah, that's pretty forceful.
Right. But with interspersal, it becomes something like, I was talking to someone, and he thought it was difficult to really know when you are going into a trance.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's snuck in there almost in plain sight.
It's like planting a seed without anyone even noticing.
Exactly.
So how do you actually mark these out for the unconscious mind? Is it all in the wording?
Well, it's partly the wording, but it also involves subtle shifts in tonality, body language, even pauses.
Okay.
Brooks actually breaks down an entire interspersal induction step by step in this lecture,
Wow.
showing how it all comes together.
That's amazing. It's like a secret language.
Yeah.
Okay, this is incredible. So Brooks actually demonstrates this live with a volunteer.
He does.
I have to know what happens.
Well, you'll have to wait for part 2 to find out.
Oh, man. All right, folks, we're going to leave you hanging right there, but make sure to come back for part 2. We'll see interspersal in action, and we'll explore even more techniques for indirect suggestion with Stephen Brooks. Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking about Brooks's lecture on indirect suggestion, and we were just about to get to the part where he demonstrates this interspersal thing live with a volunteer.
Yes.
I'm dying to know what happens.
Well, prepare to be amazed, because what's fascinating about this demonstration is how he creates this really relaxing experience for the volunteer,
Okay.
almost like a waking dream. He weaves in these suggestions about comfort breathing and letting the mind wander.
Uh-huh.
And all while he's doing this, he's marking out key phrases with these subtle shifts in his voice and even using pauses strategically.
It's like he's composing a symphony of suggestion.
Right.
And the volunteer is just eating it up, going deeper and deeper into this relaxed state.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how Brooks incorporates like therapeutic elements into this. So he's subtly suggesting that the volunteer's unconscious mind can work on any problems they might have.
Wow.
All while maintaining this calm and supportive atmosphere.
It's like he's planting these seeds of healing.
Exactly.
Without them even realizing it.
And this raises a really interesting question.
Yeah, what's that?
Can we really influence someone's behavior without their conscious knowledge?
Right.
Brooks seems to think so, and this demonstration is pretty compelling.
Yeah, it really makes you think
It does.
of the power of suggestion.
Yeah, and here's something that's really wild. After the demonstration, Brooks points out how the volunteer's clothing actually played a role.
Was.
Yeah, the volunteer was wearing a shirt with a grid pattern.
Okay.
And Brooks said that it made him feel like he was going down in an elevator.
Really?
All because of that subconscious association.
Wow, that's crazy. So our unconscious minds are really picking up on things that we don't even realize.
All the time.
And weaving them into our experience.
Exactly. We may not be aware of it on a conscious level, but these subtle influences can have a big impact on how we think and feel and behave.
My mind is officially blown. Okay, so we've covered binds, double binds, and interspersal, and it feels like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more.
What else does Brooks talk about?
Well, he introduces this technique that he calls the reverse set.
Okay.
And it's this fascinating way to kind of deal with resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah. So imagine someone's in therapy and they're hesitant to share something.
Right. Like vulnerability is hard.
Exactly. They're putting up walls, maybe even unconsciously. So instead of trying to push them, a reverse set might sound something like, it's taken you a long time to enter therapy, and I don't know if you're ready to tell me about your problem yet.
So he's like acknowledging their resistance.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that make them more likely to close up?
Well, that's the brilliance of it. By acknowledging the resistance, you're actually satisfying both parts. The part that wants to share and the part that doesn't.
Right.
You're giving them a sense of choice and control.
Okay.
And that can paradoxically lower their defenses.
It's like meeting them where they're at.
Right.
Instead of forcing them to move.
And Brooks says that this was so effective that his assistants had to come up with dozens of these reverse set double binds as part of their training.
Wow.
And they were just amazed by how well they worked.
That's incredible. Are there any other types of double binds that he talks about?
Yeah, he briefly mentioned something called a double dissociation, double.
Double.
Yeah.
Okay, my brain hurts already.
I know, right?
Okay.
He doesn't go into much detail about it
Okay.
in this particular lecture, but he gives an example.
Okay.
So imagine someone says, I don't know whether you know about how much I know about you wanting to, or maybe not discovering whether you can have tea now or later, or whether you prefer to wait a few seconds before you discover that you decided that before you knew that you knew it.
Okay. I think I need a diagram
Yeah.
and a strong cup of coffee to unpack that one.
It's a mouthful for sure.
But even without understanding all the ins and outs, it definitely sounds like a powerful way to like bypass that conscious resistance
Absolutely.
and create a sense of inevitability.
It's like layering all these different levels of suggestion to kind of create a cascade of influence.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
What's resonating with you so far? I mean, I'm blown away by the sheer power of indirect suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always known that language is influential, but I never realized just how much is happening beneath the surface. It's like a whole new world has opened up to me.
That's great to hear. And how do you think you might apply these insights to your own life and interactions?
Honestly, I'm still processing it all, but I can already see how understanding these techniques could help me communicate more effectively, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, it's like having this secret weapon for persuasion and influence,
Right.
but with the added responsibility of using it ethically.
Exactly. No Jedi mind tricks for personal gain.
Right.
But I'm ready for more. What else do we have in store?
Well, you'll have to come back for part 3 to find out.
All right, folks, make sure you join us for part 3, where we'll continue exploring the world of indirect suggestion with Stephen Brooks. All right, so we're back, and we are deep in the weeds with Stephen Brooks' lecture on indirect suggestion.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one.
So last time we were talking about all these crazy techniques like reverse sets and double binds, and I feel like I'm starting to get it, but I'm also ready for more like,
Okay.
what else did Brooks cover in his lecture?
Well, he talks about this thing called a response contingent bind, double bind.
A response what?
It's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
He actually coined the term himself.
Oh, okay.
And basically, the suggestion itself isn't inherently a bind or a double bind until you get the person's response.
Whoa, okay, I need an example.
All right, so picture this. Someone says, can you go into a trance sitting forward as well as sitting back? Now, if the person just answers yes, because they think they can,
Right.
then it's a simple bind.
A conscious choice.
Right. But if they actually shift their posture to test it out, then it becomes a double bind.
Oh, so it's like a chameleon suggestion.
Exactly. It changes its nature based on how the person reacts.
That's amazing.
It is. And it highlights how important it is to be adaptable when you're using these techniques.
Yeah, you've got to be ready to adjust on the fly.
Exactly. It's like a conversational dance.
I like that.
And speaking of dance, Brooks talks about how important it is to engage all the senses when you're using indirect suggestion.
Oh, you mean like sight, sound, touch, taste, smell?
Exactly. Because by incorporating sensory-rich language, you create a much more immersive experience for the listener.
Right.
And it bypasses those conscious filters and speaks directly to the subconscious.
It's like you're painting a picture with your words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, you feel relaxed, you might say something like, imagine sinking into a warm bath, feeling the water gently caress your skin as your muscles melt away all tension and stress.
Whoa.
See?
I do feel relaxed. Just hearing you say that makes me want to go run a bath.
It's so much more evocative than just saying you feel relaxed.
Yeah.
And this multisensory approach can be incredibly effective for creating lasting change.
That's so cool. It's like you're creating a hypnotic trance just with language.
Exactly. And it opens up all sorts of possibilities for healing and growth and transformation.
This is making me think about storytelling, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you hear a really good story, you kind of get swept up in that world. They're experiencing it firsthand.
Yeah, that's a great point because Brooks also emphasizes how storytelling and metaphors and symbolism can be really powerful tools for indirect suggestion because they tap into these deeper layers of the unconscious mind.
It's like speaking the language of dreams.
Exactly. No wonder we're so drawn to stories.
Yeah.
They bypass our logical mind and they go straight for the heart.
I love that. Okay, so speaking of the subconscious mind,
Yeah.
Brooks tells this crazy story
Oh, yeah. I remember this one.
about how he accidentally induced a trance in a volunteer just by focusing on the pattern of their shirt.
And I know, it's wild. Apparently, the grid pattern reminded him of elevator doors.
What?
And this subconscious association created this sensation of descending in the volunteer.
He hypnotized someone with a shirt pattern.
I know it sounds crazy, but it just goes to show how susceptible we are to these subtle influences.
Yeah, it's kind of scary when you think about it.
It can be, but the more we understand about these processes, the more we can make conscious choices about how we want to be influenced.
And how we want to influence others.
Exactly.
So Brooks really wants us to not just understand this stuff, but to actually use it in our daily lives.
Yeah, he encourages us to experiment.
To see what happens.
And he suggests starting small, paying attention to the language we use in everyday conversations. Like, how do our words impact the people around us? Can we start incorporating these subtle suggestions?
Always with the intention of doing good.
Of course.
It's like we're turning our everyday interactions into these opportunities for subtle influence.
I love that.
That's a really cool thought.
It is, and it really highlights the responsibility that comes with this knowledge.
Yeah, we've got to use it wisely.
Absolutely no Jedi mind tricks.
No dark side stuff here. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Binds, double binds, interspersal reverse sets, multisensory language storytelling, symbolism.
The ethics of it all.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
It's really opened my eyes to how powerful language can be.
And how much is happening beneath the surface of our awareness.
So to everyone listening, I want to encourage you to keep exploring this stuff.
Yes.
Practice these techniques, experiment, and see what happens.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
And remember, folks, with great power
Comes great responsibility.
All right, that's all for this deep dive into the world of indirect suggestion.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.